Okay, it says we're live. I suppose we'll believe it. Hello, YouTube. My name is Garrett Robinson. Welcome to my show, Vloganovel, on my channel, Vloganovel, where I vlog novels. This is the show where I live create books from beginning to end, everything from outlining to writing the first draft, editing, formatting for publication, and then putting it up online, available for sale from everywhere from Amazon to Barnes & Noble, Kobo, the iBookstore, Smashwords, and everywhere else. And we are currently working on the third book in my series, the Nightblade volumes, and the book is called Darkfire. The third book, like I said, the second book actually just came out yesterday on Friday. It is Mystic. It is right here. It's quite pretty. I'm very proud of it, and I hope you'll go check it out. There is a link to go pick up a signed paperback in the video description below, and that sale goes directly to me, which is very helpful as an indie author. And through that link, you can also get the Kindle version if that is more your style, if you're an ebook reader. So, we're working on the outlining process, and outlining takes a surprisingly large amount of time. I think a lot of people think that outlining is kind of just writing everything down, but just writing down all your ideas for the story and everything. But I like to work with a fairly structured outline that I spend a lot of time on. So we are going through that right now. We have written down a single sentence that's meant to kind of encompass everything that happens in the book. Obviously, it's limited because it's a single sentence, and then we expanded that into this paragraph right here. And then I listed down all of my things that have to happen in this book, and then I need to add things that must happen in the next book, which I haven't added yet. And I might not add a lot of these things. I think of while I'm actually writing the book, so I will take a break from the first draft and I'll go write them down, and then during the editing stage, I go through and I make sure that I've included everything that I meant to include, if I still want to include it. So, let's see where we're at right now. The Thief Lauren and the Mystic Jordell have the Wizard Zane, and I can delete all of this. It's shorthand for myself. Lauren and Jordell have Zane in tow, with no friends to help them now that they have been branded as outlaws by Jordell's former Sergeant Vivian. Jordell leads them across up the eastern side of the Great Rock Mountains, but agents of Yeren and the Mystics have been roused to scour the countryside for them, and they are hard beset. So at Lauren's suggestion, they flee to the mountains themselves. They travel the treacherous path north along the spine, meeting many magical creatures, but ultimately wind up at a secret, mystic-looking stronghold that Jordell didn't even know existed, but it turns out not to be mystics. It's the followers of the Necromancer Reborn who have supplies of mage stones from Yeren, from the family Yeren. And Damaris is there. Oh, I'm going to enjoy writing her again. She's such a fun character. When Jordell is Jordell... Damaris is there. Jordell means to thwart the activities of these guys, but he's discovered. They're discovered and there's a bloodbath. Against her better judgment, Lauren has to give Zane mage stones to save them. And then we're going to have a moment of redemption for Zane here. When he is finished, Lauren expects him to flee once and for all. But he doesn't. He remains with Jordell to atone for what he's done. But in it... Yeah, before I was going to have Zane vanish off into the nothingness, and then they would like discover him at some point later in the series, or like encounter him again. But I think he should have a moment of redemption first, because he's on a long slide down as a character. So we'll bring him back up and we'll give him some redemption, and then he'll vanish, or we'll kill him. One of those two things. Either one. Doesn't really matter to me. He'll either die or he'll be redeemed. Where Lauren finds Chet, who is overjoyed to see her. But he gives her the news that her father died from the arrow she shot into his leg. Okay, so against her better judgment, Lauren has to give Zane Machen to save them. When he is finished, Lauren expects him to flee once and for all, but he doesn't. He remains with Jor-El to atone for what he's done. They go to a town near the place where Lauren finds Chet, who's overjoyed to see her, but he gives her the news that her father died from the arrow she shot into his leg. That's an important thing for the trilogy. I suppose I should have started this off with spoiler warning, so tremendously sorry if you haven't, if you don't know. But this is the show where I write my books, so you're going to find out what happens at the end. But this is a really important moment for Lauren because she's stressed over and over and over again. She has such a big, she won't kill people, and that is her firm moral line in the sand, and she can act a little bit superior over other people because of it, and she can, that's kind of why she considers herself a good person and why she considers herself like better than other people a little bit, because she has problems with arrogance and thinking she's the hot shit and whatever. And then she finds out that her dad died, that she actually killed him. And that's, so her whole moral high ground thing is all kind of bullshit. Even though it's an accident, Lauren, of course, won't see it that way, because one of the things when you're that arrogant and you think you're that good and you think you're that, you think you're special or whatever, is if you really believe that and you're not just like, and you're not a hypocrite, then you can't accept the fact that even an accident would be, acceptable. Because you should have been better. Okay, so that's a pretty good paragraph for now. So we're gonna start doing episode paragraphs. And while we do this, oh boy, this is probably gonna, oh man. I need to work on the map, but the only thing is that working on the map is gonna kill my computer because it's a gigantic file. Maybe I can cut the size in half and that'll make things more manageable. I don't know. We're gonna give it a shot. If the stream suddenly dies, I apologize. Novels, Night Blade, research, map. Oh boy. Yeah, already my computer's spinning up. It's like, big file. We're switching the view over to Photoshop, just in case you're wondering why the screen went black for a second. Oh man, hold on, computer. I'm gonna fix you. No, I don't need a preview. That's fine. I don't need a preview. I don't think shrinking the size in half will hurt anything. I'll lose a tiny little bit of detail, but not enough to matter. I hope. at least. One thing I kind of go back and forth on this series is, okay, do that. It's going to think about that for a little bit. One thing I kind of go back and forth on in this series is really broad overall pacing. If you've read the first two books, you'll notice that Nightblade is pretty fast paced. I don't know if pacing is the right word. They're both fast paced, but in Nightblade, she doesn't go very far. You know what I mean? She starts in her home village, and she ends up in this village in this city of Cabris, a little bit south of the forests where she grew up, where Lauren grew up. And I wanted to expand the scope of the world a little bit more. So in Mystic, she travels south for a long ways and encounters first Redbrook, and that's where she first meets Vivian, and then they sail west along the river, and they arrive in Wellmont, and the rest of the story takes place in Wellmont. So there's a lot of countryside, there's rivers and forests. It's a bit more epic in scale, and I do like that generally in my fantasy. And it can be handled well, or it can be handled poorly. Lord of the Rings, for example, like a lot of people don't even realize, and The Hobbit as well, like a lot of people don't even realize reading the book that The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings took, I think The Hobbit took like almost 2 years, or maybe just over 2 years. Bilbo's journey was like almost around 2 years long. And The Lord of the Rings, Frodo and whatnot, Frodo didn't come back to the Shire after leaving it for years. And I like that. Like, real life is not some action-packed couple of weeks out of your life and then nothing after that. It's like, if you do go to war, or you go to accomplish some great thing in some part of the world, it's probably going to take you quite a little bit of time to succeed, if you succeed at all. So anyway, I like that as opposed to some other book series where it's like, it all just kind of takes place over the course of a very short amount of time. Harry Potter is another good example of doing it right. Like, each of those books is an entire year, and the whole saga is 7 years of his life. Like, that's major. And if every book in the Nightblade volumes was just like the first one, then each one would only take about like, the first one only is like a couple of weeks long. And so is she really going to have that much adventure every 2 weeks of her life? She'd die of a heart attack at the age of like 20, by the time she's 20, So I do want to stretch things out a little bit more, make things a little more whatever. Okay, so here's the map, and we were getting pretty detailed with it when we were putting it together. Here's the village where she grew up. Here's where she met the caravan after fleeing from the constables. There's the checkpoint where they fled around Cabris and entered through the southern gate. There's the King's Road and the Melinar River. There's Garsek, which is the closest thing to a capital city other than the High Seat itself. So they came all this way down this road. Mystic Stronghold. Where's the Mystic Stronghold? That's not in Selvin, that's in Feldamar, or it should be. Yes, it is. Okay. So the Mystic Stronghold is incorrectly placed in the Selvin folder, but it's actually in Feldamar, so we'll move that. There is a folder for Wellmont. Oh, I'm trying to move slowly, computer. I'm sorry. So we've got Wavemouth over here. We've got Garsek, we've got Cabris, we've got Wellmont, and then we got Wellmont Copy, which I think is actually Redbrook, right? Yes. So So we'll rename you Redbrook. Obviously, all this stuff is very rough. This is not something that's going to go to public. I eventually am going to have a map done by a professional cartographer. I actually know a guy in New Zealand who does that professionally. It's not his only job, I don't think, but he makes a bit of money doing it, and it's like there's still work for fantasy cartographers out there. That's pretty fantastic. So this is very rough. It's for me, and the creation process. And eventually I'll fill in enough of it that I will send it to a professional cartographer, and it will be in the books, and you'll probably be able to buy prints of it and everything like that. But this is just rough and for me. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to fill in some of the details of what happened in Mystic. Just kind of reacquainting myself with things. Okay, so that layer is literally the entire King's Road. That line I just moved is the latitude at which lands become very cold, inhospitable, and icy. Basically, the entire kingdom of Idris is, in not exactly an Arctic zone, but like really, really close to. I mean, I guess kind of almost in an Arctic zone. Like the southern half of Idris is in what we would think of as winter, 10 months out of the year, and only has frost melt a couple of months out of the year. And the same is true for the very southern tip of Wellmount, although Wellmount is in general much more temperate. So the Great Rock Mountains are where Darkfire takes place, and you can see them here. And there's going to be the King's Road leads west of Wellmont to Red Brook and all the way back to the High King's Seat if you follow it far enough. So let's get into Selvin a bit more and start filling in some of these details. So we'll duplicate the checkpoint folder. So this is where Jordell found the mercenary army west of the river. This is where Zane returned to find Lauren. Redbrook is where a whole bunch of stuff happened. Battle of the River happened somewhere right around here. We'll add a small little tributary. Where is this river? Is it on Roads and Borders? Yes, it is. That should not be there. God damn it. Oh well. I suppose we'll keep. So this will be a small tributary where Bubble found them. And we'll add Bubble's village. Over here to the west of Wellmont is where Lauren stole her horse Midnight. She doesn't actually steal the concept of Midnight itself. We're going to have to rotate this one. Yeah, that might not even work. This is a story about Billy Joe. Just give it a little white glow. That usually works on these things. Okay, Lauren steals Midnight. We're just going to save this file real quick because my computer hasn't calmed down whatsoever, and I'm afraid. I'm so afraid of what's going to happen. Just going to check the stream on my phone really quick. See how it's coming through. Did it save already? I guess it did. I'm just going to save this file real quick because my computer hasn't calmed down whatsoever and I'm afraid. Oh, the video and audio are terribly out of sync. Well, nothing I can really do about that. Sorry. And then right about over here. We'll rotate this one just to... Right over there is about where Zane attacked the mercenaries and the mystics and everybody. And that's where they set off north. So then as they go north, they are going to travel along these Great Rock Mountains right here. That's what they're called, the Great Rock Mountains. So here's where things are going to start happening, and I want to sort of document. Basically, they're going to end up near the northern tip of the Great Rocks, and they're going to end up in a little city up there. Actually, let's just add the city really quick. We'll just call it Northwood. The name might change, but it's actually a pretty cool name. But much more important things are going to happen in these mountains. Northwood is not where the majority of the book is going to take place. There's going to be this stronghold. So we will duplicate Northwood. We'll just call this we'll just call it Stronghold for now. Yeah. Oh, by the way, somebody the other day asked me what font I use for the distinctive font for the Nightblade series that's in the titles on the book covers and all that sort of thing. It's just Harrington, which is actually a free font. I just think it looks really good, and of course I modify one letter in each title, which has been T for Nightblade and Mystic, and will be F for Darkfire. Yeah, if you haven't seen the... let me save this really quick just in case it kills my computer. If you haven't seen the cover for Darkfire, I can't show it to you high res in the YouTube video, but I can definitely pull it up. And it's pretty. I'm proud of it, so let's check it out. That's Darkfire. I'm so happy. I'm so flippin' happy with that cover, I can't even tell you. I love it. Anyway... I'll stop yanking my own chain. So the Stronghold is where a large part of the story is going to take place. That's where That's going to be the midpoint, is them discovering the stronghold. So the first part of the book is going to be sort of the long journey to the stronghold. Now, it might make more sense for Jor-Del to take them back to the King's Road and take that all the way back to the and take that... Sorry. It wouldn't make more sense. I keep mixing up the details of the story in my mind. Jor-Del wants to get to his stronghold in Feldamar. Actually, this should be called Jor-Del's stronghold. So it doesn't make sense to go back on the King's Road and keep going east. Now, he could exit. He could leave the Kingdom of Selvin and travel north along the King's Road to Feldamar, and then take other roads to reach where he's trying to go. But Dorsey is not necessarily a hospitable kingdom, and he doesn't have very many contacts there and everything like that. So instead he's going to... And also the King's Road is very heavily guarded and patrolled. It's the King's Road, so like it's at least somewhat maintained, and they're much more likely to reach a lot of traffic on it. So he is instead going to cut north on the eastern side of the Great Rock Mountains. And from there, he's going to travel through the northern portion of Dorsey to reach Feldamar, and from there go to the stronghold. And it's a little bit longer, but it's a much safer path, or it seems like a much safer path, but will prove to be otherwise. So I feel like we need to add a road, and because things are often simple in these times, we can to Selvin it will... In the Kingdom of Selvin, it will simply be called the West Road. We'll just duplicate another folder that's nearby. We'll bring it up here. We will delete the castle, because we don't actually need that. We'll create a new layer for the road itself. And east of Bubbles Village, let's make this about the right size. Whoops. Not blue. Brack. A little smaller, I guess. That's pretty good. So, a little bit east of Bubbles Village, we're going to have a road that runs north. And then follows. You know, just running through the foothills. A road just like any other, really. And it goes to Northwood. Now, because of aesthetic reasons, we're just going to go to Bubbles Village really quick. We're going to copy the layer style. We're going to paste it on the title of Bubbles Village because it's a bit blocked by the road right now. Oh dear. I was thinking pretty hard about that. Oh, of course, that's because the West Road is on top of Bubbles Village, so that didn't help us at all. So we'll put it right there. That way it makes sense. So now we'll take... So now we'll take, because we copied this layer, we'll take this text box that formerly said Wellmont and change it to the West Road. And we'll bump the size up a little bit. It's a road. It's kind of important. Move it here. We'll rotate it 90 degrees. We'll put it right there. And again, it's very rough. You know, the turns of the road are not really meant to represent anything other than the way that the land might naturally run. So we've got an interesting arm in the mountains here where there's sort of a little cleft that's like almost a small vale or a, you know, a smallish valley. I think that's a great place for interesting things to happen, and this can be a place that they visit after taking like the dangerous mountain passes from somewhere south down here, like. So we'll find our stronghold. Where's the stronghold? There it is. And we'll actually call this the Shade Stronghold because the people that they're going to meet there call themselves the Shades. And they're like an evil version of the Mystics. An eviler version of the Mystics, I suppose, depending on your viewpoint. And that will be where they are, which gives them, which is one, a very secretive location, but can also easily coordinate activities in either Selvin or Dorsey, which is, so it has strategic value as well. But we'll take this city, we'll duplicate the Shade Stronghold. That'll be the mountain town. Something interesting can happen in there. We'll have to name it eventually. If, by the way... Oh, I don't even have comments loaded up. I'm an asshole. Sorry. Just in case somebody is actually watching. So if you have a suggestion for a name for the mountain town, I always, on my Vloganovel, will take suggestions. I won't necessarily use it, but feel free. A lot of viewers named characters and places in the first two books, so feel free to toss out any thoughts. So now we need to devise the mountain pass, and for the we don't only need the mountain pass, but we'll start with the mountain pass. So there's the mountain town. We're going to copy that. We're going to move it down here and have it be a small town. So something is going to happen in the small town that provides the motivation for them to take the mountain pass in the first place. So that's going to lead from the mountain town through, you guessed it, the mountains. And of course we're going to, again, these turns and whatnot are not necessarily meant to be accurate. They're more of an indication for myself to remind me, hey, the mountain pass, twisty, turny, hard to navigate, very difficult. pass is going to go right by the Shade Stronghold. And of course, we'll invent some kind of cool story for why the mountain pass exists in the first place. Like, if you've got the road, why have the pass? And it can be some king in ancient days built it to move an army, you know, in secret from the north of the kingdom to the south or something like that. There you go. There's our mountain pass. Put it right here. That seems to work better aesthetically. So we got the road, the mountain pass, the small town where things are going to happen, and everything like that. So this feels actually good. This feels like a good starting place to work off of. Oh man, this thing's so messy. Can't wait till I have an actual version I can work off of. Oh, poop. Sorry, arranging windows really quick. Okay, there we go. So now we're going to pop back into Scrivener. And we're in episode 1. Oh, God. So now that we've built out a little bit of the locations where this stuff is all going to be happening, okay, so let's talk about our characters and what each of them wants. I feel like I have the most problem with Annis's motivation, because Annis is friendly with Lauren, likes her, wants to help her, wants to be with her, but doesn't have the same like sort of blind devotion to her that Jem does. Like Jem's character is relatively simple to write because he's sort of not in a romantic way, but he's just he loves Lauren. He's like she's my boss. I have pledged myself to her, and that means that I'm going to follow her and do whatever she tells me to, and whatever she says we need to do, that's it. So it's like it's like the right-hand man. He's very it's not difficult to figure out what a right-hand man is trying to do, and it gives you a good starting point to see like where are they going to branch out from there. Annis is harder because she has gotten away from her family, but I mean, if you've ever experienced like children who like want to run away from home and like maybe they like run out the door one night, or they like try to go to a friend's house or anything like that. Once they get out there and they have escaped from that, all their thought is escape, 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 get away from that. Then once they have accomplished that, they're sort of like, well, now what? Like Lauren has found her mission, but Annis doesn't share the same conviction that mission is the right thing to do, so she's not into it. Anyway, she's going to be difficult to figure out, but that's going to have to be for the next session, because my family needs me, and I must go. But thank you very much for tuning in for this episode of Vloganovel. If you want to support the show, the best thing to do is to pick up one of the books. Again, the latest book is Mystic, came out just yesterday. There is a link in the description to get it. And I hope that you will check it out. And if you do, and you can leave a review on Amazon, that would be fantastic. Other ways you can support the channel, there's a link to my Patreon in the description. Should be. If not, there's a link to my Patreon right below my face in the video, and you can go there. And if you join the Patreon for just $5 a month, then you get every book that I ever publish, which is usually more than $5 worth of books a month. So you're actually saving money. And if you don't want to do either of those things, you can just pop over to the channel page by clicking on the channel name below the video, and there is a support thing. I have turned on fan funding for the channel, so if you find the content valuable and you can help out, that would be fantastic. All right, that's it for this episode of Vloganovel. I appreciate it. I appreciate you tuning in very much. I am Garrett Robinson. I will be back with another stream at some point in the not-too-distant future. And a quick reminder, in celebration of the release of Mystic, I'm going to be doing a 24-hour stream all day tomorrow, by which I literally mean all day, from midnight tonight to midnight on Sunday night. So check that out. It's at twitch.tv/GBRobinson. It's going to be fun. There's going to be some drinks. There's going to be some friends. There's going to be some hanging out and a lot of video games. That will be a blast. I will see you then, or possibly later today on this channel. Bye.